Okay, so we're looking at two CXC add math multiple choice questions, and the first of which states that this expression, when simplified, is equal to, now the expression we have is root 5 minus 1 on the numerator over the denominator 1 plus root 5. So how are we going to solve this? Alright, so here we have the fraction. Now, to simplify this, what we want to do is to rationalize the denominator. And to rationalize the denominator, we'll multiply the denominator by the conjugate of 1 plus root 5. Now, the conjugate of 1 plus root 5 is 1 minus root 5. So we're going to multiply the denominator by 1 minus root 5. Alright, so we'll have, put a multiplication sign here, 1 minus root 5. Now what we do to the denominator, we're going to do to the numerator. We're also going to multiply by 1 minus root 5. The thing is, we want to maintain the value of this fraction or expression. So whatever we do to the bottom, we want to do the same thing to the top so that the value remains the same. Now, let me put a bracket here around the denominator. Now we're going to multiply out the denominator. Alright, so we'll multiply 1 plus root 5 by its conjugate. Now if you look at the conjugate, we know this is basically will give us the difference of two squares, right? But let's not go that deep. And what I'll do, I'll simply use distributive law. So we'll have 1 multiplied by 1, and that will give us 1. That's so we're going to multiply 1 basically. So we're multiplying 1 by 1, then the same 1 by minus root 5. So let's do that first. Alright, so we have 1 by 1 give us 1, and 1 times negative root 5, that will give us negative root 5. Then we're going to go to the next term, which is root 5, and multiply by the other two terms. So root 5 times 1, then root 5 again times negative 5. Let's do that first. So root 5 times 1 will give us positive root 5, and positive root 5 times negative root 5, that will give us negative 5. Now, you may wonder, how is that the case? Well, let's look at it at the side. Now, what I'm going to do, I'm going to use an example, right, different from this. So let's ignore this for a while and just look at the principle here. We multiply the square root of a number times itself. What will happen? So this means multiplication here. So root 25 times root 25. What is the answer? Well, we know root 25 is actually 5. Square root of 25 is 5. That is multiplied by, let's find the square root of 25 again. We know it's 5. Multiplying 5 times 5 gives us 25. So is there a shortcut that we could have used? Root 25 times root 25 gives us 25. So you see what happened? Basically, the square roots cancel and we just keep the 25. So in other words, if we have root a times root a, the answer is a. So whatever a is, could be 5, could be 2. Let's say it's 5. Root 5 times root 5 will give us back the 5. So that's where the principle comes from. So when I multiply root 5 by minus root 5, I'll get minus 5. By the way, plus times minus is minus. A positive and negative is negative. And then the root 5 by root 5 just give us 5, like we apply the principle here. Alright, so next what we're going to do, we're going to go to the top. We have root 5 minus 1. So we're going to multiply root 5 minus 1 by the other numerator, which is 1 minus root 5. So similarly, we're going to use distributive law. So we're going to go to root 5 by 1, then root 5 by minus 5. So that will give us root 5 times 1 will give us root 5. Root 5 again by minus root 5. Remember, root 5 by itself, root 5 by root 5 will give us just 5. But it's a positive and a negative. When multiplied will give us negative. So positive times negative is negative. Root 5 by root 5 give us 5. Then we're going to go to we're going to go to the next one. We're going to go to minus 1. Let's multiply minus 1 now. So we're going to minus 1 by 1. That's using distributive law, by the way. And minus 1 times minus 5. So minus 1 times 1, that will give us a minus 1. Remember, negative times positive negative. And minus 1 by minus root 5, that will give us a positive, because we have a minus times minus is plus. So our negative times negative is positive, and 1 times root 5 is root 5. Next, what we're gonna do next? Let's look at this. We're gonna have, let's simplify this. So we have minus root 5 plus root 5. What will happen here? All right, these will cancel. Same size, different signs will cancel. And we have 1 minus 5 will give us minus 4. Looking at the top, root 5. Let's look at the like term. So we have root 5 plus root 5. That will give us 2 lots of root 5s. Just like we have b plus b will give us 2b. So root 5 plus root 5 will give us 2 lots of root 5. B plus b will give us 2 lots of b. So minus 5 minus 1 will give us minus 6. And we go to the next step. What will happen here? All right, so it will be hard for us to subtract 6 from 2 root 5 just like that, right? But we don't want to use any calculator. But what we could do, we could simplify. Now, I'm going to divide each term by a common factor. What can enter 2 root 5, 6, and 4? Well, you're correct, 2. If we have 2 root 5 and we divide by 2, what will we get? The 2 will cancel the 2 and we'll get just root 5. So this will actually be root 5, and I want to divide each term by 2. All right, so we're going to have, let's put this here. So what we're going to have this, dividing this by 2 will give us root 5. Divide this by 2 will give us 3, and divide this by 2 will give us a negative 2. Now we can make this a little easier for us by simplifying this, or tidying it up a bit, by the way, by dividing throughout by negative 1. So if I divide this by negative 1, I'll get a positive 2. Divide this by negative 1 will give us a negative root 5. Divide this by negative 1, that will give us a positive 3. Notice I want to make the denominator positive, so I simply divide each term by the same number. And I don't divide by negative 1 because I want to keep these values, but the signs will change. Now what I can do here now, I can actually remove. Now what I want to do, I want to simplify this, right? So let's look at the side work here. I want to show you something quickly. If I have 10 divided by 2, what other way could I write this? All right, so I'm dividing 10 by 2. In other words, I'm finding half of 10. We know half of 10 is what? 5. 10 divided by 2 is 5. We could write it like 2. I put a 10 in the bracket. Half of 10, and we get 5. Similarly, what we are seeing here is that the numerator here is just like 10, and we're finding half of it in that sense. So we're going to write it as a half of whatever value the numerator is, and instead of putting we're going to put the minus root 5 last. Typically we write the positive term first, so we're going to just just write the positive 3 first and then the minus root 5 afterwards. All right, the way in which you add two terms doesn't matter. It's commutative, so it doesn't matter which term we put first. So we're going to put the plus term first, simply because that's typically the case. Persons tend to write it like that. So we're going to put a minus root 5 last. So we have 3 minus root 5. All right, so if you look at it, which one of these choices is the answer? And if you said D, then you're correct. Like I said, we could have used the concept of difference of two squares and we would have gone much faster, but just want to make sure you understand the concept, and hopefully this video was helpful. Now if you got this correct, then that's great. Now if it didn't, that's fine. Hopefully the video helped you.